Man, you guys know Elliot Ness's cousin, Crazy Ness? If you are a cruiser, you probably do. Wild stories today. Woman jumps off of dock. We've got Royal Caribbean potentially in a feud, in a Hatfield and McCoy, in a feud with a cruise port. And we've got a woman that done been arrested trying to board a cruise. She had warrants, and wait till you hear about this alleged crime. Cruise craziness running wild on today's episode. Let's go. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to La Lido Loca. Welcome to the Cruise Show. I am your host, Tony, and this is everything going on in cruising. It's for your face on a Friday the 13th. Dun, dun, dun. Friday the 13th, June 2025. Let's kick it. Let's go. Here is the first story. Watch this. This is taking place in Juneau. You know, Juneau, Alaska. You know what I'm talking about. This lady just takes off and jumps into the water in front of a cruise ship. The caption says, must be a local, because I've got several layers on here. There's really no context as to what's going on. You're just at that famous dock there in Juneau, and this young woman just runs and jumps in the water. I don't know if this is illegal or not. I don't even know what the outcome is. It's not super dangerous there. I mean, it is kind of close to the cruise ship. I guess if the engines were on, that could be a problem, but I'm assuming she just crawled out of the water. What is this? Just like I said, I think there is a full moon out tonight. I've got some interesting stories, but I can't wait to get to the one at the end about the lady that got arrested. Look, you can't escape the internet these days unless you've been very careful over the last 15 years. There's a good chance that a good chunk of your personal data lives on the internet, available for people to purchase and to look at. People, search engines, potential employers, your data's out there. And your data is out there not always because of hackers and identity thieves. It's out there because when you sign up for stuff, you give consent for your data to be bought and sold by data brokers. They store this data in data warehouses, and they can do whatever they want because you gave consent. Well, fortunately, you can remove that consent by just reaching out to the data brokers and saying, please remove my data. However, who are these people? Fortunately, help is out there, and it's in the form of the sponsor of today's episode, Incogni. Incogni is a service that you engage to get your private data out of data warehouses, out of the hands of data brokers. It's really a simple 3-step process. First, you create an account with Incogni. Number 2, you authorize Incogni to work on your behalf. And then third's the easiest one. You sit back while Incogni goes out and interfaces with these data brokers to get your data removed. I've been using Incogni for a while. I've had my data removed from well over 200 data brokers. And every day with these stories of data breaches and data being passed around on the internet, I'm thankful for it. Excitingly, you can try Incogni for yourself at a discounted price. Scan the QR code that is on the screen. Go to my link in the description or www.incogni.com/La Lido Loca to save 60% off of your annual Incogni subscription. Thank you so much, Incogni, for sponsoring today's episode. Story number 2 is about Virgin Voyages and a change to their itinerary on upcoming sailings of the Valiant Lady. Virgin Voyages has been booking cruises for the Valiant Lady in June and July of 2026. Some really exciting 14-day cruises. People have been booking them. Cruises that were set to happen on June the 8th, July the 8th, and July the 22nd. These were sailings that were going to be 14-night itineraries around the British Isles. This was going to happen after the Valiant Lady had repositioned from Barcelona to the UK. Well, word is coming out that they're scrapping those plans entirely. People booked on those cruises have been notified that the Valiant Lady will not be coming over to the UK. Instead, it will be doing shorter 6- and 8-night cruises and staying where it's at, doing round trips from Barcelona there in the Mediterranean. Impacted guests are being issued a full refund. They're also receiving a $100 onboard credit if they book another sailing. Guests can also, if they want to switch ships off of the Valiant Lady and they want to go to the Scarlet Lady that is doing similar itineraries to the ones that were canceled, they can get a $300 on on-board credit. There's not a lot of explanation as to why this change has been made, but I would assume that, maybe the leadership over there at Virgin looked at it and said, we're more likely to fill up the Valiant Lady if we keep her doing those sailings in the Mediterranean. Maybe those sailings for the British Isles weren't selling well. It's hard to tell, but it is part and parcel when it comes to cruising. The cruise companies will switch stuff up if it looks like it will be more advantageous for the cruise operation, for the profitability. And seemingly this may be what the Virgin Voyages is doing. Were you on those cruises? Have you been canceled? Is this a day of woe? What decision will you make going forward? Leave a comment below. Friday. Thank God it's Friday. I have a weird life. Friday doesn't really mean a lot to me. All my days blur together. But I do remember a time where Fridays were like the most exciting day because it meant I was able to leave my workplace behind. Been watching Severance on Apple TV. That had got a lot of buzz. I think there's 2 seasons out, but we're in the first season. What a weird show. I just want to say that. I'm here for it. I'm loving it. It reminds me a lot of a lot of things. It reminds me of cultish churches, which I've experienced some of that in my life, and it also reminds me of cultish workplace experiences, which I've had some of that in my life too. So if you are shell shocked by the corporate environment, if you struggle with the work-life balance, let me give you a recommendation for TV to watch: Severance on Apple. It's pretty good. All right, let's talk about the icy feud that is developing between Royal Caribbean and Juneau, Alaska. Recently, Royal Caribbean has canceled the Juneau stop on several of the sailings of the Ovation of the Seas, instead replacing Juneau with Sitka or Icy Strait Point, and the reason that they gave is scheduling reasons. Now, again, I think we'd have to read between the lines to actually fabricate a beef here, but there is some things that have happened over the last year or so that makes you wonder, what's the real reason behind this schedule change? Yeah, it started out last year where there was an initiative to ban cruise ships on Saturday in Juneau. Interestingly, Royal Caribbean donated $75,000 to the campaign of opposition. And all in all, that campaign of opposition in Juneau raised about $500,000 to do advertising and stuff like that in opposition of the cruise ship free Saturdays. And the cruise ships free Saturday folks, well, they raised about as much as a T-ball team that was selling chocolate bars. I think they had $500 in their coffer for advertising. And surprise, 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 the initiative did not pass. It's the truth about elections. A lot of times the amount of money spent sways an election. Doesn't always happen, but certainly in this one, maybe it did. There's been other initiatives since then to limit cruise ships. All of those have, not turned out to do anything. So there's that possible beef. Another possible piece of beef between the leadership at Juneau and Royal Caribbean is that Royal Caribbean partnered with an indigenous company that works outside of the leadership there in Juneau, like the governmental leadership in Juneau. And they decided they're going to build their like a whole new dock. And so they're working with this company to build the dock across from the main dock in Juneau. And they didn't really say anything to the council there in Juneau, to the governmental leadership. And the governmental leadership issued statements like, well, we're shocked. We didn't anticipate this. And they didn't seem too happy about that. And then just a few weeks ago, the leadership there in Juneau, the government said, hey, that thing we've been talking about for a long time, doubling our dock fees, we're going to do that. We're going to do that pretty soon. It's going to give us about $5 million more for Juneau, raise the roof. And hey, how about that, cruise industry? You're going to have to suck up that additional cost. And well, again, I don't know if any of this is correlated or not, but now we've got Royal going, okay, well, I guess we just won't go to Juneau for a few stops on the Ovation of the Seas. I think I've heard 3 cruises so far that Juneau's been dropped, and Icy Strait Point and Sitka have been picked up. But there could be an icy feud brewing between Royal Caribbean and Juneau. Whatever happens in this outcome, or whatever the outcome between Royal Caribbean and Juneau, I think it can be helpful to the whole cruise industry if they're able to strike some sort of compromise or cool it down. It would be wild. It would be wild if all of a sudden Juneau didn't become a cruise port. It's a pretty iconic part of the Alaskan experience to go to Juneau. Do you know what I mean? But wow. Hatfields and McCoys type stuff, right? I do have another story, and I'm going to title this in the same way that this sheriff that I'm going to show you titled it, God Works in Mysterious Ways. I do want to briefly talk about Friday the 13th. I'm not superstitious, so I don't really have any kind of feeling about Friday the 13th, but man, I do have a weird feeling about those slasher horror movies that came out when I was a teenager. Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween. I do not like horror movies. All of that stuff scared me to no end. And the funny thing that I just want to relate as a 53-year-old man with 6 kids, the things that I found scary, apparently my kids are desensitized to that, because one of the scariest movies I ever saw when I was younger was Children of the Corn. He wants you too, Malachi. That movie scared me to no end. Cujo scared me to no end. Pet Sematary scared me to no end. Well, one evening when my kids were teenagers, I sat down. I'm like, okay, you guys want to be scared? You guys say you like the scary movies, you like The Ring, you like to see all that stuff. Let me show you something that's going to scare you. We watched all 3 of those movies, and they laughed in my face during the, this is what you were scared of? Maybe that's a generational thing. I don't know. Do you like scary movies? What's the scariest movie you've ever seen? Children of the Corn still ranks pretty high for me. Cujo, just because it almost seems like it could be very real. That movie was sweet. And then there was some movie that played on HBO a lot where lions were getting into a compound and attacking people. And that one seemed very real and scary. I don't even remember the name of that movie. But okay, let me play this short excerpt for you from a sheriff in Wyoming.
So the title of this video is God Works in Mysterious Ways. And that is certainly the case. So one of the jobs that we do in the sheriff's office is our deputies are responsible for picking up wanted fugitives throughout the United States. And there was one person who was wanted here locally for allegedly embezzling thousands of dollars from a church. She was contacted by law enforcement in Alaska as she was boarding a cruise ship and has been arrested for that warrant. So our deputies are currently fighting over who is going to get to go to Alaska to extradite her back here to Laramie County.
There you go. Lady who allegedly embezzled from the local church got busted getting ready to get on her cruise to Alaska. How much would that be horrible? How much would that be a bad experience? You're like, I'm going to Alaska. I'm going to see the glacier. I wonder what these police are doing here. Yes, that is my name. And yeah, I did work for that church. And there is a warrant out for my arrest. I'm handcuffed. I'm going to prison. Man, that would suck. And what would you do with your luggage? And did they have any excursions booked? And if they did have any excursion booked, should the cruise line give them onboard credit for being arrested? I'm sure some would say yes. The alleged embezzler in this case, 64-year-old Karen Bryan, currently being held in custody in Ketchikan, Alaska, until, as you heard, one of the deputies can go and do the extradition. I love the fact that this sheriff is like one of the dangest, happiest sheriffs I've ever seen. He's like, yeah, we're all fighting in the office to see who gets to go to Alaska. Yeah, do the crime, do the time, innocent until proven guilty and such. Friday the 13th, wow. Be careful out there, especially if you're very superstitious. The writing's on the wall. Shout out Ludacris. Should I stop shouting out Ludacris? So many people are new and they don't understand. It's just a joke. But maybe we should give credit where credit's due. Shout out Stevie Wonder, and we love you, Ludacris. That's everything going on in cruising. Thanks Incogni again for sponsoring today's episode. Please subscribe for more. There's still one thing to do, but before we take out of here, I just want to say have a great weekend. Tony for La Lita Loca for the cruise show. See you on the Lido, and now's the time that we dance. Get up. Get up.